So, in the last lecture, we were talking about thinking, and in that, we were talking about the core elements of thinking. So, the first one we discussed earlier was mental representation. What is mental representation? It is a mental imagery of a thing that is not currently or physically available to the senses. So, for that, we imagined a photo or a peacock, and you were able to imagine the peacock in your mind because of mental representation. Okay, so it is different from illusions, right? Illusions are different, whereas the mental representations are totally different. Next, then we saw the differences between the concepts, how our brain forms the concepts. So, concepts and internal representation with the brain uses to denote the certain classes of the things in the world. Okay, so these are the kind of the ideas which our brain forms, and with the help of its similarities and differences. So you know that which animal belongs to the which kingdom, right, and which family it belongs to, and what are the similarities and differences in them, and according to that your brain says that yes, it is a horse, or it is a yak, or it is tiger, etc. So this particular thing has been developed on the basis of concept, which is a core element of thinking. So you can see that there are two core elements of thinking. First one is mental representation, and second is the concept. Now, the concepts form the basis of for all the cognitive processes. Various concepts acts as a building blocks by connecting with each other to form more complex concepts like schema. So, what does this sentence mean is that there are lots of concepts. Okay, so for example, if I say here is a tiger and he is in the jungle, so you know that there's a separate concept of jungle and there's a separate concept of schema. Now, the separate concept of tiger. So, what happens over here? Our brain joins those two concepts and says that tiger is in the jungle. So, that entire thing is known as schema. To understand much more in detail, we will look the next image. Now, can you tell me which place is this? Is this a sanctuary? Is this a water park? Or is this a zoo? So, if your answer is zoo, then you are correct. We'll see the next image. Can you tell me which place is this? So, it could be probably a clinic or a hospital, right? We'll see the next image. Can you tell me what are these things related to? Or these humans related to? Beach. Yes, right, beach. And which is this place? Again, this is beach, right? So this all the images that we saw is where your schema actually worked. Now what schema is? A schema is an internal representation that organizes the knowledge about the related concepts and relations among them. Schemata influences most of the cognitive processes. Now this is the third core element of thinking. Now what exactly schema is, you will understand from this image. Now you can see there is a coconut tree. Okay, so this is the concept that coconut tree looks like this. Okay, so that would be the one concept. Second, we can see uh, some game, a castle over there, and then we can see a beach set over there, right? So beach set is again related to beach. Then we can see a sand castle, which is again related to beach. Okay, so we know that is sand castle because the concept is already made in our brain. Next we can see the kids playing with the ball and other things which are again related to beach. Again their attire is related to beach. So these all concepts are already made in our brain, and what our brain does is it puts all these concepts together, and we can easily say that all these things and people are related to beach. Okay, so over here in this image you can see various things, and our brain has made various concepts for this. And when we see this image as a whole, we take the schema tells us that it is a beach. Similarly, in this image, there are various concepts like there is a stethoscope when we see from left, then there are clients sitting, then there is a chart, then there is a hospital sign over there, then there is a wheelchair, then there is a nurse who is dressed like a nurse, then we can again see one doctor, right? So we come to know that the concepts are related to a hospital or a clinic, and that is why our schema says that yes, it is a hospital or a clinic. Similarly, over here we can see the cage, we can see the various animals over here. Now if it would be a sanctuary, we could have seen animals roaming freely, but here we can see the cage, we can see the tourists are roaming freely, right? So this is a zoo because our concept for the zoo is already made. Okay, so this all the concepts come together and form a schema. So the schema is an internal representation that organizes the knowledge about the related concepts and relationships among them. Another example to understand schema which is given in your textbook is of zoo. So that is what we saw in the first picture. So zoo displays what? Animals, home, cage, display, public, etc. gets activated simultaneously and a connection is established between them. This leads to the formation of schema of a zoo. So all these concepts gets related quickly, and the schema of any particular place is formed. Now sitting in your living room or your bedroom, you know that it is a living room or a bedroom because if you see the things around you, you have developed a various concepts about those things. So in case if you're sitting in your bedroom, you know that there's a pillow, there's a bed, so there's a coziness in your bedroom. So all these are the various concepts that are developed, and then that concepts make a relation, and your schema tells you that yes, it is a bedroom or yes, it is a kitchen, because things are kept over there in certain ways and our concepts are formed which shows a relationship among those concepts. Now tell me, what is this? This is a dog, right? So the next concept is of language. Language is a system of symbols. Mental representations, concepts and schemata are all better represented by the language. So unless and until if I don't tell it is a dog, people won't understand what exactly is, and it is all conveyed by the medium of language. Okay, so if the word cat stands for actual cat, so the word cat is a symbol for a cat. Thinking by using a language is a distinctive feature of human beings' thinking process. So all the human beings convey only through language, right? And the language is the most important part of the communication. Now next we move on to the problem solving. Problem solving, as the word describes, if there is a problem and you try to solve it, then you are doing a problem solving. So problem solving refers to the process of finding the solutions to the problem encountered in the life. It's one of the type of thinking. Problem solving includes various steps. So again, problem solving, what do you do while solving a problem? You start thinking, and that is why problem solving is the part of thinking process, and that is why it is included in this chapter. So very easy to understand. If you're finding solutions to the problem, so that would be a problem solving. So there are various steps in solving the problem. Okay, so the first step is defining the problem. Now defining the problem means what? You are going to identify where exactly the problem lies. Okay, so in these steps a person needs to identify and define the problem correctly. If the person defines the problem incorrectly, he will never reach the solution. So you need to be very specific, very identifying the problem correctly, then only you can reach to the solution. So over here there is a very simple example given to make you understand. For example, when a baby is crying due to stomach ache, and if his or her mother wrongly interprets that it has due to hunger, the problem remains unresolved. So if the baby is crying due to stomach ache and the mother is feeding the child, what will happen? It is not reaching to the particular solution, and baby is going to keep on crying, right? So over here it is very much necessary to find out what the specific fault or specific problem is there. Once you know what exact problem is there, then you can find out the solution quickly. So the next is generating an alternative solutions. For every problem there are various solutions, some effective while some may turn out to be ineffective. In the second step of problem solving, a person tries to search for all those possible actions that can solve the problem. So this is the second step in which the person is going to find out what are the various ways in which he or she can solve the problems, what are the possible solutions for it. So for example, if coronavirus is the issue, right? So what are they doing? They are trying to find out the various solutions or various alternatives to solve that particular problem. For example, in your textbook is given that if a person is having suffering from severe headache, she may start thinking of taking rest, listening to the music, meditating, taking medicines. Okay, so these are the various solutions she thinks that could solve her problem of headache. Now what she will choose is could be the best solution to her. So if you have 5-6 solutions, you will try and find out which solution suits the best. So that would be selecting a solution. In the third step of problem solving, out of many possible solutions, the person selects one on the basis of reasoning applied. Reasoning ability of an individual helps him or her to solve the problems more realistically. For example, if a person recalls that meditation helped him or her in reducing his or her headache the last time, then she will select the same solution for the problem in the current situation. So if in the last time you got a proper solution like meditation helps in reducing the headache, next time again you are going to do meditation in order to reduce your headache. So you are not going to take the tablets because you know that those are not useful for you. So what you are going to do is you are going to do a meditation. So what is happening over here is the person is selecting a solution from lots of possible alternatives that were available for him. Okay, so till now we saw the 3 steps, that was defining the problem, that is finding the exact issue or identifying the exact problem. Once you know what the exact problem is, then you can suggest various alternatives to yourself or to the person who is seeking help. Once you have generated various alternatives, you can select any one particular solution to it, right? And the last and the most important step is implementing and follow up on the solution. So in the last step of a problem solving, a person actually tries out a certain solutions and evaluates the outcome on the basis of whether it has helped him or her to resolve the problem or not. So if the problem is still unresolved, a person might have to go to one of the previous step and carry out the problem solving procedure again. So if those solutions are not found to be helpful, what the person is going to do, he's going to go back to the problem and try to figure out the other solutions. So that is known as implementing and follow up to on the solutions, right? So with this we end up today's lecture. In case if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask me in the comment box or directly connect to me. Thank you and bye. Take care.